branding and strategy, and this is what Reme is a specialist in, okay? She's going to be talking about creative ways to use your personal brand story. Stories are incredibly powerful. So hands up if you're a course creator, coach, or service provider, yeah? So that's you need to be speaking to her afterwards, okay? Now, what does Reme do specifically? She's going to guide you into strategically choosing what moments of your story to share and highlight the benefits of doing that. Yeah, have I had it steady enough now? I don't want to spoil anymore. So please give a warm welcome to Reme Mancera.
Yeah, thank you. I was just saying that I am excited to be here in front of you and to speak about personal brand story, which is something that I really love. So let's start, right? My goal today is to share with you 5 creative ways to use your personal brand story. But first, I would like to ask you 2 questions. This is the first one. How many people do you know who offer something similar to you? And then the second question. How many of them have the same life path as you? And here, let me guess, no one else, right? Your story is unique. And that's why, as a business owner, your story can be an incredible asset for your business. But as many of my clients, you might wonder, who cares about my story? And let me tell you, your audience does. The people that will get inspired by you, that will resonate with your story. Your story can be that little push that they need to take the next step, right? So that's why your story is relevant and worth telling. But now, how to choose what to share? And it doesn't need to be just a nice story or interesting one. You don't need a Hollywood narrative here. You need to be strategic. So you need to choose something from your story that are connected and related to the benefits of your offering. And to make things easier for my clients, I developed a framework called Story Connectors. A story connector is a specific moment of your story that is related and highlight a benefit that you bring with your offer, that's the value that you bring to your customers, right? So we explore your journey and choose strategically which moments to share, which parts of your story to share, to emphasize, to illustrate that benefit that you bring. So let's share some examples, I think that will make things easier. I am going to share one example that is one of my clients. She is called Jeans, and she's a life coach. She works with female entrepreneurs who has some lack of meaning work, and she helps them to get the balance between impact, mental health, and financial stability. So the first example here of Story Connector is related to the problem that she solved. In her case, her clients has a desire of having meaningful work. That's connected to one moment of her own story. She was running a business that from the outside looked successful. She was working 10 hours per week, making good money, getting results for their clients, but from the inside was not that good. She was struggling, she felt misaligned, and at the end she closed that business. So that story for her clients is really relatable. They can see how she was in their shoes, having that struggling, even if from the outside it looks like a business that works good. If you are not aligned, things are not going well, you need to check what is going on, right? So let's go with the second example. This one is related with work experience. And before she has this business, and before she was a life coach, she was also a literature teacher. So she has some students, 30 years old students, and they don't care about poetry. But one exercise that she gave them was interesting for them. She asked them to write a poem about something that they want to change in the world. And so the day of the presentations arrived, they start doing their, reading their poems, and at some point she realized that several of them were talking about how they felt wearing a mask, like trying to achieve their family expectations, their society expectations. So they have this feeling of wearing a mask. And that feeling is similar to the feeling that her actual clients have. So her clients feel that they are wearing a mask and trying to get to other people's expectations, and they are making decisions based on other people's expectations instead of listening to themselves. So that's why using the story can be useful for their audience to understand them. And then the third example is related to one of her main values, which is inner wisdom, listening to your inner wisdom. So that is a point really important in her process. The example here, the moment of her story is that when she closed that business, she took a break, and during that time, she forced herself to truly listening to herself. So truly listen to her needs, and even if they were unexpected. And that was happening when she started painting. That was something that she hadn't done before, but somehow she felt the need to do that. And what she discovered is that painting was a really good way for her to kind of a journaling way. So really help her through that process. By sharing this story, she has kind of a bridge to talk about how important it is for her that her participants, her students, take care of really listening to themselves, really being aware of their inner wisdom. So as you can see, these stories are bringing context, connection, and contrast. Provide context because you are someone, and people can see how you are someone trustworthy. It's not just about authority, it's also about showing that vulnerability. And then connection. It provides connection because it shows how you are someone relatable. In this case, her potential clients could see how she was in her shoes. So they see that point of connection. And then provide contrast. It shows how you are someone unique. And every one of us, we are a unique combination of our story, our background, our expertise. So that's why sharing pieces of our story and doing it in a strategic way will help us to connect and to create that real relationship with the people that we might work with. Right? So now we have decided what to share, but how to use your story. We have some, let's say, common ways to use it. For example, in your About Me page, in your social media profiles, content marketing, public speaking, if you are getting an interview, so and so. But let's think about how we can go beyond, how we can be a bit more creative. And the first example that I want to bring to you is photo shoots. So let's see a little game here. Please raise your hand if you think that set number 1 belongs to jeans. Please raise your hand if you think that set number 2 belongs to jeans. Jeans is the sample that I bring before, sorry. So, as you can see, you can still look professional in your pictures, but bring parts of your story. Make it them that are conversation starter, making them more unique and memorable. Let's see example number 2. Let's say you want to be a guest in someone's podcast, in someone's community. And if, let's say, you have a form to fill out or you can send an email, this is an example with the same woman. As this is a podcast where the topic is about how we should take our mask off, and it's specifically for people pleasers and perfectionists. So in her email, Jean can talk about this little story about the poems from the students and how the story can be interesting and can resonate with the listener of the podcast. You can do something similar, just checking which is the community that you want to reach out or the podcast that you want to reach out, and see which of your story connectors can make sense to share. And of course, the rest of the email will be the typical, saying what do you offer to them and the information that you can provide to them. Another example of different uses is when you have an onboarding process, let's say when you are welcoming your clients or welcoming your students if you have a course. So, for example, say in the welcome email, our example, Jean can use her own story about how she got to this process where she was really listening to her needs and all that. That's going to help in several ways. The first thing that is going to do is providing the participants the permission to be vulnerable. You are creating a safe space already by sharing your own stories. And you can do in different levels, and this is something really important to me, how you are the one choosing the level of privacy. You can keep your privacy and have a memorable personal brand. So some people would do is, let's say in social media, they are more preserving their privacy, but then in this kind of emails, more private with your participants, you are sharing the same story with a bit of more details. That's, again, a way of creating a safe space where you are living by example. Another example of creative use can be in your what do you do statement. So let's say our example, Jean, she's going through a networking event. She needs to do her intro, and she can start with the I am a life coach, I do so. But what if she starts by using a piece of from her story, talking about how her business looked good, but inside was not like that, and adding that piece is from the first moment she's trying to connect with the other person, bringing new questions, new conversation can start with that. So that's another use that you can do. And then the fifth creative ways to use your story that I am proposing is use them in your sales conversations. Let's say you are having a conversation with someone that is just trying to decide if your solution is good for them or not. You notice that they are having some fear of being judged. For example, Jean can go and use one of her story connectors as a way to address that fear that she's realizing that the person have with a story. Again, for example, she can tell about the moment when she closed that business and starting something new, and she needed to really address other people's frustrations or other people's fears. So she can lead with that, and how now she's encouraging others to make their dreams true. Again, she also can use the time when she was studying a new language and she went really well all in, and how she got the lesson that, okay, embracing discomfort can help me to grow. She can use that lesson to share with that person that is still deciding, just as a way to start the conversation around that fears and that. And especially if you don't like to be pushy or super salesy, stories can be a nice bridge that are making things for you easier, right? Okay, now you have seen how stories can really get people attention, trust, and intention to buy, which is something that we don't miss, right? So now will be your turn, and I am providing some practical steps for you. This is also in the workbook, by the way. So, first thing will be to think about the type of clients that you help. Why do you work with them? Why is their problem or their need important to you? Then the second step will be to think of specific moment in your life where you feel really connected to that problem or that situation. Maybe you didn't go through this, but you were with someone that did, in your family, in your life, clients or not, in any kind of situation. But think about how in some moment of your life you were living something similar. And here, think a lot about the feelings and the lessons that you get. It's not about the details of the story of that specific moment, it's more about what that moment that you experience brings to you. The third step will be, you have an empty of these diagrams in your workbook. So when you have gone through your story and choose one specific moment that is aligned with your clients, try to summarize in your journey side, so something that is from your story, and then in your offering side, put something that is related to something that is unique in your approach. So you probably do things in a different way than others. So one skill that you have, if you are specializing in something specifically, so try to connect the story with that element that you want to highlight, because it's something that makes you different and you want to highlight that. And then the fourth step will be to pick one of the ways that we have shared here, or feel free to go and use your own different way, but just put into action this, because otherwise we are just thinking about it, but practicing is a big thing from the stories. We get used to, and also it's important because every time that we are sharing our stories, we are even discovering different elements that we didn't see before in that perspective. So practice will be always a good suggestion. And yeah, this is something that I miss in the other. When you write down in the diagram, again, practice how you are going to tell this connection. Yeah, so when you use one of the ways, please feel free to reach out to me and share your experience and how you use it, because I am always collecting different ways and I always like to see how people are doing that. So that's it. If you are curious about exploring your own story connectors, I have a special offer for you. You can check my website. And just a reminder, your story is relevant and worth telling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reme. Thank you. That was amazing.